Google Docs is making it easier to add emojis in our documents. Did you know that Edpuzzle added a screen recording Chrome extension a while back? They also added the ability to use their site in Spanish and a few other languages. Plus, Flip is letting students see their videos and the comments on those videos even when a topic is set as moderated. Finally, you and I are going to get to hear all about the new games mode in Quizalize. Welcome into episode 11 of the EdTech News Brief. I am your host, Jake Miller. This is the show where, as the title says, I tell you about the EdTech news and I keep it brief. And by brief, I mean clear, concise, and just what you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. This is episode 11. It's September 15th, and I've got some EdTech news to share with you. Hey, look at me! Back-to-back weeks with an episode released. This weekly show is almost kind of weekly now. Let's see how long I can keep this streak going. I'm not so sure about next week. I am, though, also pumped to say that I've made it past the double-digit threshold with this show, as we are here on episode 11 and still kicking. I've got to be honest, the reason I'm still kicking is the positive feedback and social media shares. Those things have kept me going when it's been tough getting episodes out. Knowing that you are enjoying these episodes, you're appreciating the learning, you're appreciating the information, that pushes me to keep releasing new episodes. So keep sharing, keep commenting, keep connecting. I love it. By the way, when I referenced listener or viewer feedback and shares, I felt like I needed a name for you. On the Educational Duct Tape podcast, which some of you may be listeners to that too. It's in a hiatus right now. Hopefully we'll be back someday. But anyhow, on that show, listeners are the duct tapers. But what are the listeners and viewers here? I certainly can't call you the briefs. That's just weird. I might as well go with tighty whities if I'm going to call you the briefs. Alas, that won't work. So what should I call you? Let me know in the comments or on social media at Jake Miller Tech. Before we get into today's news, a reminder, it is tough for me to stick to a regular schedule here because I'm a dad and a professional and I work in education just like you. So the best thing that you could do is subscribe or follow to make sure you don't miss anything. Let's start with some Google News. @mind blown. @thinking face? Am I speaking in my new top secret language? No. I'm talking about the new capability to insert emojis in your Google Docs without clicking around in any menus or using any Chrome extensions. Built into the Smart Chip menu that they released a year or so ago is the ability now to add emojis. If you type, for example, the @ symbol and brain, you'll be able to get to that brain emoji from within that Smart Chip menu, and then you'll be able to select that brain emoji so it pops right into your doc. Unfortunately, you'll have to sift through some other results like Google Drive files and Google Maps locations that involve the word brain. To make it quicker and filter out all of those other results in that @ menu, that Smart Chips menu, follow up that @ symbol with a colon. That tells the Smart Chips menu to just look at emojis. When you do that, you'll see matching emoji results, and you can click enter to accept the one at the top of the list. If you type a word in that has multiple results, like smile or heart, you may have to use the arrow keys or your mouse to get to the one you want. You can also click on the right arrow in the top right of the Smart Chips pane to see the full menu of emojis to search through or scroll through. You know, it won't enhance your pedagogy, but it might make you a little more efficient or make your docs and your students' docs a little more fun. And I'm here for each of those things. It doesn't always have to be high on the SAMR level to be worth talking about and worth using. If this makes you more efficient and this makes things more pleasant and fun for you or your students, then that's great news too. This update, by the way, is available to all Google users and is out now. However, on some accounts, you may be in what's called a scheduled release domain, and you might not see it until the end of September. But within a few weeks of this coming out, you definitely should have this update. All right, today's episode is sponsored by one of my favorite formative assessment apps, Quizalize. And here to tell us about some updates to the Quizalize platform is company CEO and founder, Charles Wiles. Welcome in, Charles.
Well, thank you so much, Jake. Great to be here.
Yeah, so I discovered Quizalize a couple of years back when I was evaluating different formative assessment apps for my book, for the Educational Duct Tape book, and discovered I really love a couple different things about Quizalize. first, it's just good for regular formative assessment, but second, it's got good standards based views to see where my kids are in different standards. And then it offers in some remediation there. So if a student is struggling at a certain thing, it automatically assigns them whatever I've chosen to assign them. It might be to watch a YouTube video, it might be to go to a certain article, whatever it is, it assigns those remediations. So I love those things about it. One thing that it was kind of missing back when I evaluated it then was some game modes. There was a little bit of like, there was a team game in there, but there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that students are going to go like, yippee, this is fun. And I think Quizalize has added some of that stuff. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, we started Quizalize with a mission to give teachers the superpowers to personalize their teaching to every student. So we really focused a lot of our effort on the data and the ability for teachers to use that data. But of course, as we were doing that, our competitors, fantastic products like Kahoot, Gimkit, Blookit, they were focusing on the games, and it actually turned out that actually the teachers really wanted the games. And we just get teachers coming to us all the time. Can you do more games? And so we've done that. We've actually spent the last 6 months focusing on really taking these games to what we think is an entire new level, right? I mean, we love the existing games out there, but we wanted to raise the game and the quality of the graphics, but also we're really keen on team games, right? Most of the games out there are either single player games that the students do for homework, or it's everybody against everybody. And I remember the very first time when we did our leaderboard, almost 10 years ago now in the classroom, there was some kid at the bottom who was crying because he'd come at the bottom.
Oh, no.
Right? So I always said we're always going to do team games. We launched our first team game, Hoops, about 5 years ago. It was a basketball game, and we then had to take it down because it kept crashing. But we've brought it back now. So that's the first one we've brought back, Hoops. It's a fantastic basketball game. Basically, as the students answer questions, if they get a question right, they score a basket for the team. At the moment, it's whole class versus computer, but we're going to be adding the ability for it to be team versus team, so you can split your class into 2 teams and have them play each other. So Hoops actually came out 5 years ago. We took it down. We've just brought it back.
Nice. That's great news.
Second game we brought out is Cleo the koala, and it is a racing game. You got Cleo and his 2 friends, racing up trees, and you split your class into 2 teams again now, and they race each other. And we try to make it a new type of racing game. So the old, you have seen race games before, but typically they are, your avatar is moving across the screen once every time you get a question right, and it's just a little bit slow and boring, isn't it? Right. So we said, how can we make a race game a lot more exciting and make it team-based? And we thought, well, what about if the speed of your character is the proportion of questions your team has got right in the last 30 seconds? So if your team has answered 10 questions in the last 30 seconds and they've got 5 of them right, your character's speed will be 50%. Right. So it's a sort of a simple dynamic, but it makes the whole game just feel so much more exciting. It's fast and it's, and everybody's working as a team. So that's really exciting.
I love it.
So we then had tried, let's do something really simple. So, one of our designers wanted to do this game where it's just 2 bears throwing tomatoes at each other. I mean, really incredibly simple. And so as the students get questions right, they're filling up their stars. When they get to 5 stars, they launch a tomato at the other bear. It's just simple fun, but highly engaging, really great fun. And then the last one, and the one which I'm most proud of because I built it. I literally wrote all the code myself. So I'm just super excited to see how it goes. And that's Battlers with a double Z at the end. And Battlers is again a team game. You can split your class into anywhere from 2 to 10 teams. If you've got a class of 30, maybe you want to split it into 5 teams of 6 players. And each team is controlling a character. Right. And they can choose, each team can choose their characters. We've got about 15 different characters at the moment, and they're fantasy characters. So there's a couple of dark elves, a halfling, a wizard, these kind of characters. And each team can choose their own character. And basically what happens is if you've got a 15-question quiz, the game will be played as 15 rounds. And so each team will answer the first question, if the team gets 4 out of 6 questions right, because there's 6 players in the team, then they'll have a strength of 66%.
Okay.
And if they get 2 out of 6 questions right, they'll have a strength of 33%. And basically, of the 5 teams, or however many teams you've got, the team with the highest strength attacks the player of the team with the lowest strength.
Oh man. Okay, I like
And
it.
if they reduce that player's team to health to zero, they win a crystal. And we've really tried to make the graphics really fun and engaging. I mean, my favorite book as a kid was The Hobbit, right? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring some of that fantasy into the classroom and just make a really exciting game like that. So those are just the first four that we're doing, and we're hoping to bring out a whole load more over the next 6 months.
I love it. Those sound awesome. And you're right kind of in the order that you guys have gone in. I know that the other tools had the fun games in there, long ago, and that was the center of their model. But I think you guys had the center of good pedagogy, and I think that's awesome. And now you're ramping it up with these awesome games, and that tricks the kids into doing the work and having fun in it, right? So they're going to have fun with these games, and the teachers are going to get great data and stuff like that out of it. And so a lot of teachers are going to be like, I want to go try out Quizalize, right? Now, because maybe they've never tried it before, maybe they've never tried the games, so they're going to want to be trying these tools out. And so I know you've got a special trial code for people to go and try it out, right? Is that right?
Absolutely right. Yeah, especially for you, Jake. So,
Yeah.
your listeners can get 3 months Quizalize Premium free. I mean, actually, the free product is great anyway. You don't,
Hmm.
you can use Quizalize for free forever on the free version, but the premium adds a few more extra features. You can have more classes and things like that. So, your listeners, they can get 3 months for free just by tweeting about us. And
Yeah.
you want to tell
Yeah.
them what they need to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's so awesome. They're gonna be so excited about it. So thank you. So yeah, listeners, viewers, if you want to try it out, you want to get those 3 months free. You don't have to win them. You just have to take one task and you got it. Just hop on Twitter, share a link to this episode, and use hashtag the EdTech News Brief and include at Quizalize app so that they know how excited you are about these new games. Share out there, and Team Quizalize will get in touch with you about getting that 3 month premium trial, which is really, really exciting. I want to go try it out myself now. My kids, when they get home from school today, I think we're gonna have to play some of these games together too, for sure.
And we love feedback. Tell us what you think. If you hate it, that's great feedback too. Tell us what you hate, and we just want to make it the most fun and engaging experiences your students can have, so they just love coming to school and they love answering these questions.
I love it, Charles. Thank you so much for sharing this and for giving us those free trial memberships. I love it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for making time for me today.
I wanted to take a chance to share. So I feel like I've just started the line to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air there. I want to take a minute, just sit right there. I'm going to tell you how I became the Prince of Bel-Air. I want to take a chance to share some Edpuzzle updates that you may not be aware of. This one is about a year old, but I find that people aren't aware of it, so why not share it just in case? It's a big one. Did you know that if you're trying to prepare an Edpuzzle activity with your own video, you can actually record in Edpuzzle? It's true. They have a Chrome extension that records and pops the video right into Edpuzzle. You can record in camera-only mode, in desktop mode, or in tab mode, and with your webcam in the corner on those two modes, of course. Unless, of course, you don't want your webcam on during the screencast. In that case, you could turn it off as well. You could then trim or cut parts of the video, select its thumbnail, and decide if you'd like it to be a public video or not. Once you're done editing, you can add questions, notes, and voiceovers just like you've always done in Edpuzzle. That same extension, by the way, adds a button in YouTube for sending videos straight to Edpuzzle. So you find that video you want to use in YouTube. I hope it's a Bill Nye video because Bill Nye is awesome. Right below the video is a button to send it right into Edpuzzle to start adding questions to it. It's a nice little added convenience. This feature, by the way, with Edpuzzle is completely free. The Chrome extension works for everybody, regardless what kind of account you have, whether it's a paid or a free account. Of course, the limitation is that with paid accounts, you have a limited number of videos that you could use in your account. But if you have availability to do some more activities, this kind of video can be the video you use. Another quick Edpuzzle update, you can now change the language that you see their options, buttons, and all of the Edpuzzle interface in. Just click your picture in the top right, and then your name underneath that, and then go to Settings. You'll only see 4 options in the drop-down right now: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Indonesian. But hopefully there are more to come later. And good news, your students can follow that same process to change the interface language for them as well. So they can make it in Spanish or Portuguese or Indonesian if they need that as well. Or if you're like my son who speaks English and doesn't know more than 15 words in Spanish, you change your phone so that everything shows up in Spanish mode anyhow. because he's 13 and 13-year-olds are weird. Hey, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, click the thumbs up to tell me thanks, click subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and ring that notifications bell so you're aware as soon as they come out. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to follow the show or subscribe if that's what your app says. And if you have a moment, please submit a review. I'd love it. On Flip, formerly Flipgrid, you can set your topics to be moderated. That means that students' videos and comments don't show up to other students until you approve them. You probably already knew that, as it's been around for quite a while. You probably also already knew that this leads to a lot of students saying, "Did you get my video?" Or, "Did you like my video?" Because they just see a blank topic with no one's videos, meaning there's no confirmation that their video was successfully submitted there either. Again, until you approve it to be seen. And sometimes that video might be for an assessment or something that you don't want other students to see at all. So you may never make the responses visible to others. And then how are the students ever going to know if the video got to you or not? So that means that students may never know if the video is submitted, and they won't be able to see any comments that you might make on that video. Until now. Now, when a student submits a video to a moderated topic, they'll see their video, and at the bottom left, they'll see the word hidden. That way, number one, they know it's there, and number two, they know that nobody else could see it right now. And they can review the video if they want to, and even more importantly, they could see comments that you make, and so can they. So they can make their comments, you can make comments back to them in there, even though it's listed as a hidden video. This is super powerful for safe, secure teacher-student conversations, or like I said, for assessments where maybe the student submitted an answer to something, you're responding back to them to tell them how they did. They might be revising their answer, and no other student can see that, which is good. This should be available in your Flip account already, and as with everything Flip, it's free. Hey, I'm starting to schedule speaking events for 2023, and my son's baseball team is starting to schedule tournaments, and my daughter is starting to schedule plays to audition for, and my other son is practicing headers for his time on the soccer field in the spring, and my wife is scheduling all kinds of adventures for us to go on. So if you want to grab one of my available spots for speaking events in 2023, there's no time like the present. You've got to claim them before one of these other things claims those times. Just send me an email and we could set up a time for a call to discuss how I can help you, and more importantly, the educators you work with. jakemillertech@gmail.com. Just reach out and we can talk about it. Next up, I always like to address any questions that listeners or viewers might have. Here's a question that I got back in the survey I did back in the spring to learn about our listeners and viewers. I've been going through those questions kind of one per episode, and I'm running out. So if you have a question you'd like me to address, please do reach out and share that question with me. This particular person, not so much a question, but in the form where I asked if they had any questions or feedback, said, "I am disappointed to learn that the main thing I tune in for, your personality, has been stripped in this new format." Not sure if I should be hurt by that feedback or feel good about that feedback. I think the right answer is feel good about that feedback. What this listener was saying is they miss the fun and laughs and everything like that from Educational Duct Tape, and switching over to this new podcast I do, the EdTech News Brief, there's not as much goofing around, there's not as much games and things like that, and they missed it. So I appreciate that feedback, and even though I was like, ooh, that kind of hurts a little bit, I'm now loosening up a little bit. Even though I'm giving you the news, I don't have to be Walter Cronkite all the time, right? I could joke around with you and I could talk about things like this and talk about how my son changed the language mode on his phone and all those different things, right? Right. So if you have feedback or questions or anything like that, send it to me, jakemillertech@gmail.com, or a message on any social media platform, or you could head to speakpipe.com/eduducttape. I know that's the link for the old podcast, but in the free version, I can't have two different links. So I have one link, speakpipe.com/eduducttape. And finally, the way I cap off every episode is with a dad joke straight from the world's greatest dad jokes, the complete collection, over 500 cringeworthy puns and one-liners. Such a great book. It really is. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, but no atmosphere. Well, here's hoping that you enjoyed the atmosphere in today's show. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope to be back again next week with an episode, and I really hope that you will be back too. I'd really appreciate it if you do those awesome things like rating or reviewing the show in Apple Podcasts, liking or subscribing to the show on YouTube, following the podcast in your favorite app, and of course, sharing this episode. Have a great day, everybody.